It's easy to get carried away by what we see around us. It's much more difficult to remain stoic in balance. It's easy to believe in words arising outward, more difficult to discern our inner talent. Some say good things take time. I say good things take practice. Time is something that happens to us. It is inevitable. Practice is something that happens by us. It is personal. One is something outside of us, happening regardless of self. The other arises from within, from the willpower of self. Practice is the combination of action and mind, or thought, alongside the law of time. It is the balance of personal will and the faith of greater laws. So above, so below. Every action creates an equal reaction. There is a time to sow and there is a time to reap. So on and so forth. Time is simply law. It happens and so it happens. We can exhaust our energy swimming against the current of time, or we can accept the inevitable and just go with it. As with any law, it exists to be used or neglected and thus used by. For time is something a conscious mind may shape, knowing that every action and thought made now and present is the force molding the moments which follow. Meaning, to a rather large degree, it is possible for an individual to create their own reality based on what they do and think now. Of course, there are events which happen outside personal control. Events which are created not through personal mind, but collective mind. These events arise due to the level of overall collective consciousness. In other words, the frequency the collective matrix tunes into, the combined consciousness of all. Your elected officials, or the fact we even need elected officials, are a result of said frequency, not the other way around. Although it is easy to believe otherwise, these large-scale events resulting from collective mind have little to no effect on the individual. Whatever effect they do have is likely a result of the individual's belief in them. The more one focuses solely on creating one's own reality, the more one moves away from the grip of the collective creation. Now this brings us to a paradox. The more one's mind moves away from the collective mind, the more the collective mind moves towards the one's mind. In other words, greater willpower exercised by an individual leads to greater individual influence in the collective. This law is multiplied as a number of individual wills come together harmoniously in greater vision. Before we attempt to positively impact the collective creation, we must first create a positive individual creation. So let's rephrase what we have discussed. We create our personal reality through the actions and thoughts we take in the present moment. Our present actions and thoughts manifest physically through the law of time. This sentence we have defined as practice. Ingrain this definition into your mind, repeat it over and over, write it down, say it out loud. Every time you hear the word practice, recall it. I would like to bring us now to another interesting paradox, the paradox of action. You may have heard spiritual teachers, gurus and such speak about manifesting material things simply through focused thought or mind. One may take this statement and believe it to mean you may simply sit in meditation and without any physical action manifest whatever material you want. This is of course a ridiculous thought. Manifesting in the physical can only come through physical effort. Like actions create like results. Let me explain what teachers mean when they reference the art of manifesting simply through mind. It is possible to conduct an action without action. This is the art of Wei Wu Wei, or doing, not doing. This is possible by using the mind to visualize an outcome as well as the individual actions required to achieve said outcome, then simply observe the body conduct such necessary action. In other words, as an action is taking place, one does not relate to the body facilitating the action, instead one places their perspective in the observer. that who is watching the body conduct an action. The observer is the one who originated the thought, which led to action. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. With this being said, one who is deeply connected and able to create a complete thought may release this thought into the collective, allowing another self to grab the thought and exert the necessary action for the thought to manifest. This is how society at large has been created, and is also how and why society is at present crumbling only to reform. This idea relates to the law: energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transmuted. Thought is energy. Unacted thought is potential energy, never destroyed but stored, waiting to be transmuted physically through action. As a thought gains popularity, the potential energy of such thought increases, only to be expressed through other selves. This is how a thought can and does take over an entire world. This is also expressed in religion, taking the form of angels and demons, Jesus and Satan, heaven and hell. Really, these are all symbols used to express the positive and negative duality of this world, as the substance of this world is thought. An angel is a positive thought and a demon a negative one. To summarize, all physical substance originates from the unseen. The unseen can be called mind. There exists the mind of the individual and the mind of the collective, both of which are heavily interwoven. An individual is able to access the unseen through thought. Doing so consciously allows the individual to create his or her desired reality or experience. This desired reality or experience can be transmuted physically through action alongside the law of time. Again, we have defined this as practice. The more an individual uses willpower to create his or her desired reality, the less of an effect the collective reality has on said individual. If enough individual realities harmoniously sync, the collective reality changes or moves to meet. In other words, if you desire to change the world, if you can clearly see the path humanity needs to follow, focus first on yourself. Forget about the collective. Look at your own reality. Have you created it, or was it created unconsciously? If the latter is true, use the laws I have talked about to begin molding your own reality. Focus first on thought. See in your mind the reality you want. As your thought becomes clear, the necessary action will be obvious. Execute. As you begin consciously creating your own reality, working with universal law, and physically proving all I have mentioned, your faith and power will grow. You are on the path of the alchemist. For the world to change, enough people must first change themselves.